Awesome, awesome. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Entrepreneurial Truth. On today's show, it's totally different now what we normally do. We were trying to film in the studio, we were going back and forth, and literally, we were talking about nervous systems, and the system crashed. So, we are literally doing it live, which is
Yes.
definitely not like the usual. So, you know what? Let's start over for those that weren't here, obviously.
Okay.
Um, Fernandos, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about who you are and who you serve.
So my name is Fernandos. FL the Life Coach. That's what the community know me as, FL the Life Coach. So I've been in public speaking and personal development for over 20 years now. I've been an entrepreneur since for over 20 years now. So the audience I really serve is I deal with identity and nervous system work, right? People that are stuck in ruts, people that are stuck in patterns, people that know logically what to do and mentally, but just can't seem to consistently do it because the pattern is stopping them from doing it. So I deal with people like that, the community. Pattern interruption is really my main thing, nervous system work. So that's kind of what I deal with. Yeah.
Listen, as we were talking about, like if there was any kind of pattern interrupt, it would have been this podcast this morning. Like
Yes.
for whatever reason, what we're about to speak to and speak about, people need to hear because clearly there was something there that was like, no, we're not going to film this today.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Like you said, we try to do it on StreamYard. We try to do it on all these other platforms. But y'all need to hear this today. So that's why we jumped on YouTube.
Yeah, that's for
Yeah.
sure. That's for sure. Okay, let's jump into this. What does this look like for someone who has never really heard about it or heard about it briefly? Nervous system regulation. What does that mean?
So that means nervous system is just the body. So I tell people think of nervous system as the body. You got your brain, you got your nervous system. They're one and the same almost. So you got three parts of the brain that I like to talk about: the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, and the hippocampus. Right. So the amygdala is like the survival center of the brain. The smoke detectors is how they call it in clinical terms. Right. So fight or flight. We've all heard of fight or flight. So when the amygdala, the survival center of your brain, starts to ring the alarm, that runs down your vagus nerve to your nervous system. And it puts your nervous system into fight or flight, which means that you're either going to stay and fight or run. So when that
Mhm.
happens, your nervous system gets activated, right? All the blood rushes to your limbs, your pupils dilate because your nervous system really thinks that there's a threat in your immediate environment. So, what that looks like in real time, in real life, fast forward to 2026, there's no threat in your immediate environment. You're not in danger, but your nervous system doesn't know the difference between reality, something you're just thinking about, and what's really happening in your real time reality. So, this is why, people can wake up, go to work, go through their routines, get on the job, and now the danger is their co-workers, their bosses, right? It's not
Mhm.
a real danger. It's just a story that the nervous system is attaching to that past experience. So that's kind of what I help. I help teach people how to regulate their nervous system and ground it so they can really be more authentic, so they can live the life that they was really called to live. So that's kind of what I do.
So this is wild, right? So you could literally be experiencing something. You're having a conversation with somebody today, experiencing something that happened to you like 5 years ago, reliving that trauma in the conversation that you're having in real time.
Yes, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So basically, I could be talking to somebody today. So I'm gonna use a prime example for me and my wife. I've been married 27 years. So me and my wife always say this all the time. We got a show called the Married Life Podcast. We drop episodes every Tuesday. So we always talk about in relationships, it's never about two people arguing, right? Most people think the arguments in relationships is between two people, but it's really between two nervous system stories.
Hmm.
That's what I tell people because you're telling yourself a story about your partner, how they're going to respond, how they're going to react, what they're going to say, all before the conversation even starts. So now once the
Mhm.
conversation starts, your nervous system is already primed for an experience that happened 4 or 5 years ago, but it's 2026. So now when I get in the conversation with my wife about anything today, my nervous system starts reaching for the stories 5 years ago. And that's not really what's happening in reality. So now I have to ground myself to reality and let myself know that, hey, my wife hasn't done that since 2020, or since 1998 or whatever it is, So it's grounding yourself in the actual facts that helps ground your nervous system so you can make better decisions and be a better version of yourself.
Wow. How does that show up in people's business lives? Like what have you found they consistently go back to?
So what I found in business, me being an entrepreneur like I've been my whole life, my mom and dad had businesses, my dad and grandmother had businesses. I found that most people get stuck in business because the pattern, okay, well, no, let me say it like this. Let me back up. I'm gonna say it like this, a thermostat. So I always use this example, right? So most people get stuck in business because their thermostat is set on a certain level. And by thermostat, I mean your first 7 years all the way up until you move out, right? So I talk about the first 7 years of everybody's life. Those are called the fundamental belief years, the most important years of everybody's life. So what you saw, what you heard, and what you experienced in those years, you put on repeat mode, right? So
Mhm.
basically, whatever you saw dealing with business in those
Mm.
years, that's what your thermostat is set on. So now fast forward to 2026, if your thermostat, financial thermostat for business is set on $100,000, every time you try to rise above that thermostat, it's going to
Mm.
pull you right back down, just like a thermostat on the wall. So here's the thing about a thermostat. A thermostat won't ever let you get above it, but it damn sure let you get beneath it. So that's why you have to watch the nervous system
Wow.
and the language, because you might not ever get above it, but it'll make you drop lower. So what that looks like in business is people settle. They settle. People know they're supposed to have a business here, but they settle for this because the gap. Because the gap is where most people die in. Because from where you know you're supposed to be to where you are, it's a process. And you have to retrain your nervous system to feel safe with that new level, or else you'll keep repeating the same patterns to keep you on this level. So that's kind of what I tell people and kind of coach people through that.
Wow. All right. So your journey as an entrepreneur looks totally different than most, right? So you've only ever worked what, two jobs in your whole
Two
life.
jobs, yeah. Yeah.
So when it comes to nervous system as it relates to a job or work, like working for a boss, right? You never had to reset that, really.
I never had to reset it because my nervous system was already trained to entrepreneurship. So this is what I joke about with my community. A 9 to 5 makes me break out in hives. I joke about that just because my nervous system is trained to that. So what I always tell people, this is our job as the individual. We have to take a look at our patterns and see what's serving us, double
Mm-hmm.
down on the ones that are, and then we got to replace the ones that are not. Entrepreneurship is a pattern that was serving me, so I doubled down on it, right? So I made it my own. So I put boundaries and structures, behind it. So
Wow.
for me, correct. I never really had to retrain my nervous system to entrepreneurship. I just had to build upon what was already there. So yes, that's correct.
Can you speak about boundaries in business? Tell me a little bit about what that looks like.
So for me, boundaries in business is um, respecting my time, right,
Mhm.
respecting the time, respecting my space of creativity, right. So boundaries for me is every morning I always work on my media company first. So I'm just gonna give you practical examples. So every morning I block out at least 2.5 hours to work on our media company. I do that before I do anything else. I wake up, go through my breath work, my workouts, and then I block out that time. I put my phone on do not disturb. So that's one of the boundaries that I have in business, that I set time to work on the business and I don't let anybody interrupt that. Not my wife, not my boys, anybody. because that's the time that I really set aside to really promote and work on the business. So that's just one of the boundaries that I put, in business to keep me on track, to help me stay on par, right? And so I tell people you always got to put system and structures around what you're doing, or else
Mhm.
you'll just start spinning your wheels with it. So that's kind of what I put in place to keep me aligned to what I need to be doing every day.
Okay. Now let me ask you, do you create any kind of like calendar where you're like blocking schedules of time? I know you say you have your morning routine, but do you also block time throughout the whole day?
Uh, Sometimes I do, but with me, because we have another business outside the media company, I just block out slots in the morning because that's my best time. So I tell people you got to find out the time of the day that work best for you. It
Mm-hmm.
goes back to the nervous system, knowing yourself. For me, from 6 a.m. to like 2 p.m. in the afternoon are like my most productive hours. So I get my most productive things done within that time slot. So my hardest things I have to face during the day, I put them in that time slot between 6 a.m., 2 p.m. in the afternoon. After that, my brain is really kind of in reset mode. So I don't really try to make bigger decisions after 2 p.m. I wait till the
Mm-hmm.
next morning because my brain is kind of in reset mode. So I don't block out time throughout the day. I just kind of understand that my main time to be productive is between 6 a.m. and 2 p.m., if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a ton of sense. I hear a lot of um entrepreneurs that are seven figure, eight figure entrepreneurs talking about like in order for them to really do the work that they need to do in order to scale their business, they're blocking time, they're making sure that they're most productive when they're most productive mentally.
Yes, yes, yes. That is so true. That's kind of how I do it as well. Like I said, but those are just my most productive
Mm-hmm.
times between 6
Mm-hmm.
a.m. to 2 p.m. So I don't necessarily block out throughout the day. I just try to get the biggest challenges done within those time blocks because that's when my
Mm-hmm.
brain is the freshest, it's when my nervous system is the freshest. So I try to eat the frog first.
Let me ask you, okay? So this is a question that I've wondered. Do you find that foods that we eat affect our nervous system as well?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's one of the things that made me go plant based. I've been plant based for like 7 years now. So I'm 47
Really?
years old. Yeah, and I've been plant based for like 7 years. Your food absolutely affects your nervous system. Not only your nervous system, it affects your brain, your thoughts, first affects your energy level. Food affects way more than what they've told us that it does. So absolutely it affects that, man. I mean, you can be on the wrong diet. That's going to affect your energy levels. That's going to affect brain fog in the morning. That's going to affect your clarity. So I'll always like to tell people pay attention to your body, right? When you eat food, you're not supposed to feel lethargic. You're not supposed to feel tired. Think of food as fuel. Like if your car is running low on E and you put
Mm-hmm.
gasoline in it, that'll give you more fuel to drive other places, right? Most of
Mm-hmm.
us in America, especially when we eat, we get lethargic, we get tired. That's a clear
Mm-hmm.
sign that food that you're eating is not going
Mm-hmm.
with your body. So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, food absolutely has an effect on us.
Okay. All right. So I know there are more controversial things, and I'm gonna ask about them, right? So a lot of like recently, I've been seeing peptides pop up. Do you know much about peptides and how it works, how it affects the body, and do you know of anybody using peptides to basically help with enhancement?
Now I don't know much about peptides. I don't know much how it affects the body. So my whole solution to the body and like to be a better version of yourself, I always tell people I totally recommend a plant-based diet. I've been on it almost 8 years now. And man, it's just changed everything. It's changed my brain fog. I lost weight. It changed my mental clarity. My energy levels went through the roof, and I always thought I was, a high energy person anyway. Being a speaker, but it's nothing like it when I cut sugar out. So I always tell people the fastest way to change your health and your body is to clean up your diet. That's the
Mm-hmm.
fastest way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fastest way to do it. And when I say clean up your diet, I don't necessarily mean go plant based because that might not
Right.
be the best option for you. But if you are going to eat animal products, try to buy animal products that are clean with no antibiotics in it, no steroids. If you're going to do chicken or beef, right? Try to get the cleanest products from animal as you can. Farmers markets, right? Health food stores, are going to be your best option. So I always tell people start with your diet because what
Mm-hmm.
you're putting in your mouth is truly affecting your body, your mind, and your life.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So since you've been an entrepreneur this entire time, how were you operating before you went plant-based in your business? How were you showing up?
Man, some of the same habits. Still working out every day.
Mm-hmm.
Still going to the gym. Still kind of meditating and different things to that nature. Um, So I was still blocking out times, right, to serve. Back then, when I was plant based, we had a commercial cleaning company. So that was one of the main businesses that we was doing along with the public speaking as well. But some of the same things that I do today, I was doing then. I just have more energy now.
To
I
do it.
have more time now, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mental clarity is better. My
Mm-hmm.
frameworks are better. So some of the same things that I was doing then, I still do now. They're just on another level, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
can you jump into a little bit about the vagus nerve so I can figure out a little bit more about how that works?
yeah. So your vagus nerve is like I call it the main communication highway from your brain to your nervous system, right? So your brain develops from the bottom up, right? So you got the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, which is the CEO of the brain, assign decision making, meaning to life, hippocampus, which is gives everything context, and then your amygdala, the survival center. So the first 7 years, we all learn by absorbing the environment. That's why my community hears me talk about the first 7 years. They call it,
Mm-hmm.
science calls it the fundamental belief years, because what you saw, heard, and experienced in those years are shaping every other reality in your life, right? So
Right.
the vagus nerve is communicating that all day long. So most of us, what we saw within those first 7 years, all the way up until we moved out into our own environments, is not serving us today in 2026. So that communication talk from your amygdala to your nervous system is constantly telling the story. Oh, I can't do this. What if this happened? They gonna
Mm-hmm.
act like this. We tried to do this back then, but it didn't happen. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what's being communicated all day long from your amygdala to your nervous system. Because on your best days, Dr. Ford says this a lot. Man, one of my good friends. On your best days, you have your best thoughts. On your worst days, you have your worst
Your
thoughts. That's
thoughts.
nervous
Mm-hmm.
system. Nervous system. So it's communicating. So I teach people how to change that communication from the brain to the nervous system so they can be themselves and authentically show up in business, life, marriage, whatever they have going on in life. Your authenticity is needed. But the only way to do that, you have to understand how your brain and nervous system works and start working with it and not against it.
Okay. All right. So we've overcome a lot of odds this morning to be here to be able to do this show, right? Can you give us some practical tips for anyone that's listening how they can basically regulate right now? Or like something quick to be able to kind of, you know, either something to watch for to be like, okay, this is something I need to fix in order to be able to show
Okay,
up for
so
themselves. Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
just trying
yeah,
to.
yeah. So some
Since
basic.
I'm holding my phone, since this is like a quick podcast, I'm like, I said, I know
Oh
it's
no,
going up
man!
and
You
down, but I'm
listen.
like holding it.
Listen. We was gonna do this today, so we here today. So
Yep.
listen. How to ground yourself? Just practical tools that I do. I teach a 5R framework. First of all, recognize the pattern, regulate your body through it, right? Because you're gonna feel
Mhm.
a certain way when you start seeing patterns, right? Get a new revelation because you can't get a new revelation being dysregulated, right? Once you get a new revelation, then you build a rhythm around that revelation in real time and put it on repeat mode. Because greatness and authenticity is boring. That's why most people abort the process. So this is something that you can do right now. My community, your community. If you're feeling overwhelmed right now, if you're feeling fear, you're feeling doubtful, right? That's because you're telling yourself stories about the experience. So how do you
Mm.
ground yourself? Tell yourself the truth about it. The actual facts of what's really happening in your situation today. Not the story you're telling yourself about the situation, not the story that happened 5 years ago with a similar situation. What's happening today in June of 2026? So that's the fastest way to ground your nervous system is giving it facts. Because whenever you facing a pressure moment in life or any type of moment that's feeling overwhelmed or any type of moment that makes you feel fearful, your nervous system is going to reach for the story that feels familiar, even if it's not
Mm.
serving you at this time.
Ooh, okay. All right. Give me the story right now. What's the fact? So if I can't identify, I'm looking at you and I'm hearing a different story play out in my mind. What's the facts of the situation happening right now?
So basically, say, okay, let's just use our example this morning, right? We kept
Mm-hmm.
trying to get on the podcast, two different platforms. It wouldn't happen. It couldn't do it, right? But that did cause us to give up. The story was, let's just reschedule it for another day. Let's just do it another time. Oh, well, maybe today just wasn't a good day. Those are
Mm-hmm.
stories. The facts are no, I have you here today. We have each other here today. We've already blocked out the time. I'm here for as long as you need me. Let's do the podcast today. And what are we doing? We did
Mm-hmm.
the podcast today. So that's what I mean by separating the story, right? Separating the story from the actual facts. What me and
Mm-hmm.
you just did nervous system work today.
Yep. Yep. Real time. Real
Yeah.
time. All right. Listen, if you had to go back and give yourself some advice, what advice would that be?
Man, the advice that I would give my younger self right now is just be patient and
Mm,
keep going. When I was younger, I used to have a lot of sleepless nights because I didn't understand this was the normal process of building something. So
mm,
sometimes we can get into a process of building, especially as entrepreneurs and high achievers, and we don't understand that process. And then we abort that process because we think we're doing something wrong or it's not happening fast enough. And so, if I can go back and tell my younger self, chill. You're
mm.
doing okay. You're doing it right. This is just the normal process. Breathe through it, regulate your nervous system through it, and just keep going. So that's what I would tell my younger self.
Wow. 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 Okay. If you had to go back and give your younger self a tool, what tool would it be?
A tool. It would be breath work. Breath
Oh.
work. How to calm yourself down in real time. Getting in tune with your breath. Like I do breath work every morning. So as soon as I wake up every morning with my eyes open, I go right into my breathing. Breath work, getting the line with my breathing. What that does, that slows my nervous system down, that slows my thoughts down, that slows me down, right? So I can really start responding to my day instead of reacting. So that's the tool that I would give my younger self if I could give it a tool back in the day.
Okay. What type of breath work do you do? I know that they have like um was it is it called Tim, I can't remember his name, but there are specific modalities. Is there one that you use?
No, I just do basic breath work like I'm fit to show you right now. So right, so I inhale 5, hold it for 2, blow out 6 to 7. So I do that 5, 6 times. It just calms my nervous system. You can do that anywhere, any
Yep.
place. When you feel your nervous system getting
Mhm.
activated, when you feel yourself maybe getting into a conversation that you might not really want to have at the time, or you can just
Mhm.
feel yourself getting angry or anything. Activation, just slow yourself down, back out of it, breathe. Couple of deep breaths like
Mhm.
that 4 or 5 times, it resets your nervous system. That's the fastest way really to reset your nervous system in real time is doing breath work.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Are there any other tools in your tool bag?
Man, breath work, and then like I said, just visualization. I do a lot of self-talk. I got a 21-day money reset mantra digital product that I sell on my link. Link is in the bio. I got a so I say that every day, and that just helps retrain my nervous system. So mantras, self-talk, breath work are like my three main tools. So as soon as my eyes open in the morning, I go right into these tools so I can respond to my day and not react to my day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. And what does entrepreneurship mean to you?
So entrepreneurship means to me responsibility. It means legacy, um, and it means identity. I would have to
Mhm.
put that with my identity. And what I mean by identity, I always tell people identity is core values, core beliefs, your calling, your purpose, right? Your gifting, right? So one of the things that I value is entrepreneurship. So that's why I would say entrepreneurship is part of my identity. It's not something that I do, it's just who I am. I've been doing it my whole life. Yep. Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can
Okay,
hear you
gotcha.
now. A call was coming in because we're doing it from the phone. Listen, this part of it.
But listen, I know, and my phone is about 5% dead. So it's about to die in like 5% because we've been trying to do this all morning. But look,
Yep.
we
Yep.
regulated our nervous system and we showed up still. That's what
Exactly.
regulating your nervous system does in real time.
Yep.
It makes
Yep.
you separate the story from the facts so you can
Right.
show up for you.
Absolutely. 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 Man, it's been an absolute pleasure having this conversation with you. And I mean, we have to definitely have another one of these conversations.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I would love to come back on the show. Actually, I'm gonna have you on the show. I'm gonna interview you on my show.
Oh,
So yeah,
yeah,
so
no,
I would love to have the conversation and we can do it
absolutely.
again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, this has been a great time. I appreciate it. I appreciate you helping me figure out how we're gonna make this happen. Listen, listen, this is what it's about, right? This is real life entrepreneurship. This is like a practical example of how in business you have to make things work all the time. You have to figure it
Mhm.
out. There's no quitting.
So true. So true. You got to figure it out. That's what I tell my boys. That's what I tell the community. You got to figure it out. The
Yeah.
answer is there. You got to figure it out, right? The story is going to tell you you can't figure it out. The
Yep.
story is going to tell you, oh, do it another day. The story is going to tell
Mhm.
you, oh, nobody's going to listen to it anyway. But that's the
Mhm.
story, but people, that's not the reality. So yeah, figuring it,
Absolutely.
and I loved it, man. So yeah, I can't wait for the next episode.
Right, right. Likewise, likewise. It's been a pleasure. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been amazing having you on Entrepreneurial Truth podcast.
Yes, and it's been my pleasure. So until next time, thank you again for having me on the Entrepreneur Truth Podcast, and have a great day.
You too. Thank you everyone.
Nice.